exactly the message that I want to be sure that everybody takes home with them. We are in strange times. We are dealing with the biggest pandemic the world has seen in 100 years. We are all going through things that we have not gone through in quite a long time and facing challenges we have not faced. But that does not mean that our challenge for November is any less. In fact, our Democrat counterparts are living down to their reputation. They have a phrase for making sure that no good crisis goes to waste, and unfortunately that's exactly what they are trying to do right now, is take advantage of this crisis and the distractions that are a part of it and the hardships that are a part of it to try to push through their just naked political ambition, and there are no limits really to what they're doing. But let me go ahead and share with you the presentation, the Red Alert presentation, that shows what we have been working on since November 2018 and the plan we have for victory in 2020. So this presentation is called Red Alert Texas 2020, and that's because that's the attitude that I want to be sure that everybody has as we go into this. We need to be on our guard. We need to be fully on board. We need to be on red alert. Periodically here, I'll see people trying to get into the Zoom meeting, and so I'll switch over to that to let them do that. But okay, back to Red Alert Texas. You know, I get asked a lot, what has changed in Texas? Why does it feel like there's a threat? Why does it feel like Democrats might have a chance to try to flip the state? And first thing I'll tell you is the Democrats have been claiming that they're going to flip the state since we flipped the state. And that's the other thing people need to remember, is that the Texas House of Representatives only went Republican in 2003. Before that, we were a Democrat state for 100+ years. It's only when we changed in 2003 that Republicans took over the Texas House for the first time. And as recently as 2008, Republicans had a majority in the Texas House of only one member. So this is not a God-given right that we will always be in the majority in Texas. But some things have changed. And as we looked at the 2018 results, it was really obvious what had changed. What had changed was that from 2012 to 2018, we had added 2.7 million new registered voters. And frankly, Democrats had been aggressive and intentional about registering those new voters, and Republicans had not. And so we got our organic share of those new registrants, but we weren't being aggressive about making sure we were registering new Republican voters. And so while we added 2.7 million registered voters, we didn't get as many, we didn't add as many as we should have. And for perspective, 2.7 million new registered voters is more registered voters than exist in the state of Colorado. That's more registered voters than in 26 other states. We've added that many just over a 6-year period. Well, in Texas, we've got a legislative calendar, an election calendar that is really aggressive. We've got every odd year, we have the first 140 days, we've got our legislative session. And that's because our founders, God bless them, they wanted the session to only be 140 days every other year. And so that during their last legislative session, sorry, let me make sure I'm not muted in the Zoom window. During our last legislative session, the party only testified on 2 bills, period. In the 2019 session, I alone testified on 95 bills, and the party testified on 300 bills. And it had a positive impact. As a result of that effort that we did, we went from passing few dozen bills to passing 100 bills that had to do with our platform planks. We went from addressing 32 of our platform planks during session to addressing 49 of our platform planks during session. So it really did make a big difference to be intentional. And there were some great items in those bills that include life. We, for the first time ever, defunded Planned Parenthood in Texas. For the first time ever, we made it mandatory to report all taxpayer-funded lobbying. For the first time, you can legally carry without a license in Texas. Now, is it full constitutional carry? Absolutely not. I wish that it applied in all of the state and all of the time. It's only for a limited portion of the state and only a limited portion of the time. But we've already had a couple of times where that has been triggered, and that absolutely will set us up for more victories going forward. Personally, I live in an unincorporated part of Travis County on purpose. Well, for the first time in Texas, a taxing entity cannot annex you without your vote and that of your neighbors. So we got some advances in the legislature. But while we were doing that, we also had to get to work on recruiting and training candidates. And that's because you lose 100% of the races you're not in. And we needed to be sure that we were challenging every incumbent Democrat in the state. And that was our goal. And we put together a team, a fantastic team, the Candidate Recruiting Task Force, led by Hamilton County Chair Kat Parks. She put together a fantastic team of volunteers from around the state that spread the word that we really want to see more Democrat incumbent office holders challenged in the state of Texas. And it made a huge difference. It made, not only did that team recruit a lot of people, but through their efforts, we partnered up with Leadership Institute, and we had over 1,400 candidates and supporters pay to attend a one-day campaign intensive class. In that class, we did 33 events around the state. And as a result of all of that, we ended up so that the Democrats only had 1,401 candidates in their primary. We had 3,106. And not only that, but we had the most diverse pool of candidates the party had ever seen. I got a call from the Houston Chronicle the day after the filing window closed back in December of 2019. And the reporter there said, how in the world did you guys in 1 year double the number of women that you have running for Congress as Republicans? And other people noticed. We had one of the candidates' wives post out how we had 3 Black, conservative, Republican candidates for Congress in the Dallas-Fort Worth area alone. Well, we didn't do it the way the Democrats would do it. We did not do it by having some sort of quota. We did not do it by setting arbitrary guides and limits. We did it by spreading the word that what we wanted was great conservative candidates challenging every incumbent Democrat. And that's exactly what we got. Part of the reason why we were able to get so many more candidates is because we have really improved the support at the RPT for candidates and counties. We've provided materials to make it easier to go block walking. We've provided materials to make it easier to get people registered to vote. We've improved our data tools, so we have the best block walking, the best phone banking system that we've had, the best data to go with that we've had in years. And we actually added one of the things I love, which is our event calendar map. If you go to our homepage at texasgop.org, you will see there this map covered with events all over the state. Now, obviously, right now, there are a lot fewer events going on than there have been. But even now, we've got virtual events. We've got phone banks happening. We've still got virtual parties going and virtual trainings going. But this calendar is open to any event that's open to the public and for Republicans. And you can see at the bottom there, there's a link that says submit a new event here. Any event open to the public for Republicans, you're welcome to add it to the list. So counties are able to spread the word about their items. Candidates are also able to spread the word about their events. One of the things we're really excited about for counties is we now have a template for a website available for counties. It includes all of the things that a county needs to have up on their website to comply with the law, to make sure that supporters locally know how to get plugged in, how to get involved. And the back-end interface for it is the easiest there can possibly be for a county party to be able to run their operations. All of this takes people. And we have been building the biggest team we've had in a long time at the Republican Party of Texas. In fact, already right now, we have double the number of people that we had in the field at our peak in 2016 and 2018 combined. We've got over 50 people working the field already. We are on our way to having hundreds of field staff out by this summer. Now, obviously, the coronavirus stuff has put a little bit of a delay in the hiring, and we are taking all that into account. But when all of this hit, our people turned on a dime and switched from meeting in person to being on the phone, to doing trainings in person, to doing trainings online. And I'm so proud of the work they've done. Over the last couple of weeks, they've done over 30,000 phone calls, and they have done hundreds of voter registrations by phone, and they have done dozens of online trainings for new volunteers and new people to get involved. And volunteers really are our secret weapon. And one of the ways that volunteers can help the most is to help us do voter registration, to be really intentional about adding Republican new voters. And so we've got the Volunteer Engagement Project, and the biggest initiative of that is the 10K for 10R project. It's to have 10,000 volunteers who will each register 10 new Republican voters. And to sign up, all you have to do is text 10K, 10K to the number 72,000. We've already had, or just go online to our website, texasgop.org, a form will pop up where you can sign up. We've already had 3,300 people sign up. We have already registered over 70,000 new Republican voters that way. And these voters are going to make a big difference from the White House to the courthouse when it comes to November. All of this work, of course, takes money. And I'm so proud that in 2019, we were able to raise $3.3 million, which on an apples to apples basis is more than we had done in any other odd year. Even more importantly and more exciting is that when you pull out major donor fundraising, which was a significant increase last time, it would have been a record just for the other fundraising events and activities. The party is really firing well on all fronts. More importantly than how much we raise, though, is how well we manage it. Being conservative means managing well. And that's why I'm so proud that at the end of the year, for the first time ever, the party, which had never had more than $2 million cash on hand at any one time before, ended the year with $4.4 million cash on hand. And we just confirmed our most recent report, $4.7 million cash on hand, which is so important because November is coming and we have to be ready for it. We have to build up that team. We have to support those volunteers. We have to register voters. All of that takes that effort, and we are prepared for it. So how's it been working? Well, it worked like a charm in Houston in December, which is why I challenged the party to get involved in city council and school board races years ago. And we started doing that. And in Houston, we helped with mailers, we helped with texting, we helped recruiting volunteers, And we did 3 victories in Houston City Council elections in December. 2 of these 3 shown on the screen here, the at-large runoff races in December. 2 of those 3 we won, and the third we only barely didn't win. And actually, he's now with the RPT full-time. I'm very happy to have him on board. Okay, so worked in a city council race. What about in a partisan race? Well, the New York Times in January called House District 28 the most important first election of 2020. And they did that because the Democrats have been trying to get a narrative to stick. Their narrative is, we won 12 Texas House seats in 2018. We're going to hold all 12 of those. If we win 9 more, we will control the Texas House and we will control redistricting in 2020. And then we're off to the races. No Republican can win the presidency without Texas. Well, they're right that no Republican can win the presidency without Texas. They're right that if they held those 12 seats, then it would only take 9 more to win. They're wrong because they're not going to hold those 12 seats. We have great candidates already lined up to challenge those 12 seats, and we are going to win some of those. But also, they're wrong about those next 9 seats, where those next 9 seats where we won them by 5 points or less. In some cases, we have great new candidates. In some cases, we have the existing candidates who are better prepared, the incumbent office holders who are better prepared to win those 9 seats come 2020. And House District 28 was the first chance to prove whether they were right or we were right, whether the work we've been doing was going to pay off or not. And so every Democrat interest group jumped in. You can see them on the screen here. Move On, Act Blue, Texas Democrat Party, they all jumped in. The Democrat in this race raised 75% of her money from outside Texas, 97% of her money from outside that House district. She raised $2 million for that House district race. On the Republican side, we executed on our plan. We worked together exactly as we had intended to, and we won. And we not only won, we took what had been an 8-point victory in 2018, where their whole argument was all we have to do is shave a few points off. We turned it into a 16-point pounding. Now, some of that was due to a great candidate. He worked really hard, walked 150 homes every single day of the election. Very proud of that and very pleased that we had a candidate who was willing to put in that kind of work. But the rest of it was the plan. We worked together. We used our data. We used our tools. We had our volunteers and we had our key staffers in the area. And here's the kicker. The 8 field staff that we sent there to help, that's not even half the field staff that we're going to have in Fort Bend County, which is where House District 28 is, that we're going to have for most of the rest of the year. We are going to be prepared to keep winning, not just in House District 28, not just in Houston, but all over Texas. Because November is coming, and we are going to win. Thank you guys for listening to the presentation. Now I'm going to switch back over to the Zoom meeting, and we can have a conversation about, I can answer questions. I've got a handful of folks here who were in the waiting room. And let's see, if you want, let's see, if you would like to be recognized, just there's a little participant button at the bottom of the screen. And if you'll click on that, you'll see a little hand raise icon on the right. You can raise your hand and I can do it. There we go, from Scott to everyone. My video was turned off. Sorry about that. Couldn't see me or the PowerPoint. Oh, shoot, yes. Sorry about that. Okay, Leslie, my apologies about you guys not being able to see the PowerPoint. It's available on the live stream. I forgot to also share the screen in Zoom. My apologies on that. Let's see. Do we have anybody? Oh, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Paul, Leslie, Scott, anybody have a question? Here we go. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to admit Samuel, and I'm going to unmute everybody. So now just holler out if you got a question. Let's see, Jordan, we're getting some audio from you. Oh, okay. Any questions at all about the presentation? I guess, and again, my apologies for not having that right. Let's see if I can share the right. We did the Great Candidate Recruiting Task Force and some of the training events we had, comparison of candidates, some of the great tools we have available for candidates and counties, comparison of the staff, our volunteers, improvements in fundraising and cash on hand, and then the wins in Houston, the opposition we had in Houston, in House District 28, and then winning in House District 28. I had to love it when not just Governor Abbott gives us compliment for how the plan works, but even the Atlantic and the Statesman and the Tribune couldn't do it. That was couldn't help but have to admit that we had really humbled the Democrats. Sorry, let me come.
I have a question.
Sure.
So allow me to preface. Right now, you've got Democrats attempting to create a false narrative that Trump is to blame for not acting soon enough to shut things down, even though we have a federalist Republican form of government in the U.S. and much of that power that all comes from the governors in the state, individual states. What are we in Texas doing to counter that narrative that it's Trump's fault that he didn't act soon?
Well, the best thing, the best thing the governor. Let me make sure I'm not muted here.
It's okay. You were cutting out a little bit, but I got a little bit. I heard as much as the governor.
Yeah. So the best thing we can do is to set an example and to remind people that it's actually state operations in most efforts. So what the federal government can do is a lot of things to get out of the way, to get the CDC, the FDA, other organizations to really get out of the way. And in fact, as we've gone through this, there have been a lot of examples of how both at state level and at the federal level that in fact the best thing government can do in a situation like this is to not cause more problems. And I think the president's frankly done a good job of emphasizing the private sector and how much private sector can do, as well as what the federal government is doing. And it's our job. The best thing we can do is reinforce that, and we have. And frankly, we're getting a lot of positive feedback with the way the president and the governor are handling this coronavirus.
So what I have found, Mr. Dickey, is that people tend to be partial to the things they know the most about. If we're not educating people, they're not going to be swayed by anything coming out of our mouths. Right now, the left has the megaphone of the left is the media. And while Trump is doing a great job holding these conferences every day, even though several of the media outlets are not carrying it anymore, they are still creating a narrative that Trump is to blame for not acting soon enough. So I would submit to you that, look, maybe we can do at least just on the local level, not the national level, but in your capacity here in the state level, is trying to educate people perhaps with the information they need to know that they're being BS, such as what type of a government we have, why it's not Trump cannot, in his official capacity, come in and tell the state to just shut everything down. Everybody do this, everybody do that. It doesn't work like that. That is not how our government works. Um, has there been any conversations to that effect about how to counter that narrative being pushed by the Democrats on the state level?
Yeah, we actually have been doing that. We've had a lot of press lately, and in every one of those interactions, we have been doing that. And of course, the governor does that as well. But one of the challenges you can't. The press has made it crystal clear that they are all in for the Democrats. And you can't make them say something they don't want to say, and you can't make them present the thing you want presented. The good news, though, is they have been so brazen in what they have done that it actually is starting to backfire, and people are realizing it. And so, direct communication methods like this one have really helped us make that case and make the presentation. But we've done an extreme amount of media, both radio, TV, and press. But I mean, the Houston Chronicle yesterday put out their attempt at a hit piece on Governor Abbott, and their complaint was that he's too confident, too calm, too assured, and too reassuring to the population. So they're going to find something to criticize, and they are going to criticize Republicans. That is a fact, and we just have to get around it and over it, and we are. That's why all our efforts are going directly to the population. That's why our field effort is such a focus, and volunteer effort is such a focus, is because they can do 100 things where they tried to pass the message that the president is the worst since sliced bread, and one good friend nearby reaching out and having a personal contact and asking them to believe their own eyes and not the press can offset that. And that's where we're putting our focus. One of the questions we got was about the presentation and would I send it by email. It's actually available online at texasgop.me/victory. And another question was they're very concerned about Congressional District 23, that Will Hurd's not running for it again. Gina Ortiz Jones has gobs of money and identity boxes checked. Either of our runoff candidates is a Hispanic veteran, but neither is a Beto type. What else is in the 23 equation? The biggest thing in not just 23, but every equation is the amount of work and effort we are going to put in the district. And 23 is absolutely a priority district. It has been. It was frankly very impressive that Congressman Hurd was able to keep it for 3 cycles, because it was drawn to be a swing district. And before him, no one had been able to hang on to it for more than one district or one cycle. So we are putting a lot of work, and will continue to put a lot of work into making sure we keep that one. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to send that the texasgop.me/victory. That is where the presentation is, and I'm going to send that to everyone in the meeting. There we go. And let me make sure I don't have anybody waiting in the waiting room. Okay.
When you have a moment, Mr. Dickey, I have another question that I'd like to ask you.
Sure, fire away.
Okay, so Mr. Dickey, in my business, I'm a broker of board level electronic components. I own a company here in Lago Vista. My is worldwide. Over the last month, I have been receiving many offers from my Chinese, Taiwanese, Singapore vendors for every type of piece of medical equipment you can think of. KN 95 mask, 95 mask, ventilator. There's every single the federal government is in need of. I currently have 10,000 disposable medical masks on order. I'm waiting for DHL to pick them up. Right now in Hong Kong, there's huge backlog over there from China coming online, and a lot of different. And with the commercial airlines having cut back, there's no cargo room for people like Expeditors International and others to rent space to get product out of there. So there's a big bottleneck on large shipments. My 10,000 masks are coming here to Lago Vista. They should be here by Friday of this week. It's my intention to donate every single one of those to the local community. But I have had everyone from uh, Charlotte, North Carolina, to Austin Regional Clinic, to a conversation I had with a gentleman from the state of Texas and several other entities, including Lago Vista, asking me if I can get them more product. I can, but here's the problem. You mentioned the FDA a little while ago. The FDA has put out mixed messages going back to March 28th. There was an EUA that went out, and then an update on April 2nd. And in those EUAs, they're giving explicit instructions for people, for both importers and manufacturers of record, the process they need to go through in order to import these items to fill that need. I could get this process is because of deceptive trade practice laws, which are what price gouging fall under. I'm scared to death to bring something in, spend an enormous amount of time brokering that, bringing it in, and then having a keyboard warrior go out there, file an open records request, and assert that I'm price gouging somebody. Additionally, there are very, 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 very large impediments to me getting the stuff in through U.S. Customs. As it is right now, some of my vendors in Asia are telling me that 3M masks are actually getting stopped by U.S. Customs. Have you heard any talk about things that can occur which could ease the flow of the product into the U.S.?
Not to that level of detail. On the other hand, that's one. All of what you just described is a big part of why Governor Abbott put together the supply chain task force that he put together. And
Yeah,
there
I
is
reached out to him. They told me to go. They directed me to a website where I could basically say, "Hey, here's what I've got. Here's
right,
the price, etc." But what this is a fluid commodity right now,
right,
and what's happening is vendors of mine, for example, can get stuff through their connections at the different factories that 3M, Honeywell, and a slew of other manufacturers work at. But there's a huge amount of counterfeit mitigation that has to be done. I don't want to bring in stuff that's being offered to me that I could very well offer to various hospitals and other communities when there's a chance of me getting sued for either price gouging or product liability. There's no safe space for me to actually help at a product. So
yeah,
I share this with maybe you can kind of echo this sentiment internally in some of your conversations that you might have with the governor and others. And if they would like additional perspective, I would be more than happy to share that with them on a firsthand and in a more private
sure. Well,
basis.
and that's what I was going to say. Reach out to me separately. I can connect you up with a couple of people who can give you details on that. My email is jrdickey@texasgop.org. And by all means, everybody's welcome to reach out to me. One of the other questions was, what are the GOP chances to retake 47? 47 is one of the House districts. It's here on the western side of Travis County. Lago Vista is included in House District 47. I think we've got a good shot. Now we've got two candidates in the runoff. So we'll see. At the party, we are completely neutral in primaries and in intra-party races. So I've got no preference and will not take any part in deciding or recommending or trying to skew who wins that one. But whoever wins that one, we will be all in on making sure we win that seat back, because no question, either of them would be a dramatic improvement over the current representative in 47. Any other questions? Great. I want to thank you guys very much. It was a pleasure to be back visiting with you guys. We ended up having about 50 people at least that I can see that participated, and I haven't even checked Facebook yet, so we'll go see how that ended up happening. By all means, feel free to send me questions or comments or suggestions. Samuel, yes, sir. I can't hear you. I saw your hand was raised, but I can't hear you. Well, Samuel, just send me an email and we'll talk on offline. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us tonight. This was a real pleasure, and feel free to reach out anytime. God bless.